the last few days are what happens when members of our community are murdered, lynched, and consistently dehumanized. The righteous anger that is being seen all throughout our nation cannot be ignored by our government or by any one of us without further consequences. Watching the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, a defenseless young Black man, was so difficult. I did not want to believe it was real. The coldness and total disregard for life by his murderers is pure evil. These vigilantes took the law into their own hands, showcasing privilege and an assumption of power over another human being, a power and a right they did not legally and morally have. Watching George Floyd being executed, lynched by the police of Minneapolis was horrific and sadly too common of an occurrence. How many times have we seen a Black man, a person of color, shot dead, beaten, choked to death by the police? How many times have the people risen up in anger, crying out for justice? And how many times has it been denied? Over the last few words uttered by George Floyd as he begged for his life, "I cannot breathe." It was the cry for help uttered by Eric Gardner, and it was the collective cry of all people of color in our society. "I cannot breathe" is the cry of the oppressed, a cry of an intense pain voicing the pattern of intense injustice that unfortunately rings true for so many in our society. Our nation was built on oppression, built on slavery, built on the bones of indigenous peoples. That oppression continues through today. We have a system of inequalities that works by keeping women, people of color, LGBTQ, the incarcerated undocumented residents, the poor and working class down, while the privileged few reap the rewards. Enough is enough. The time to address these injustices is now, and it is long overdue. Racism isn't just an ill of our society. It is a functioning mechanism of our society. It is built into our society to make sure we do not fully realize what a democratic society is. A society where we share power, where we share the resources, the land, and opportunities. Racism is part of the capitalist machine that works for the wealthy who have no interest in raising up all people. It works best when it keeps the many down, because you can't create great wealth if you have to share it with your brothers and your sisters. As an ally, I reflected often on my understanding of my place in society and where my privilege has gotten me. I'm not a wealthy man, but I am white and I am a man, and that has afforded me benefits that others do not enjoy. I must recognize that and try to understand the lives of others who do not share the same experiences as I do, so I can come to a place of understanding of how they live amid this oppression. As an ally, I will fight to change the system. Cornel West has said this system cannot reform itself. We need revolution. It can be a peaceful revolution. It can be bloodless, but the time for change is now. We cannot rely on expecting change to happen on its own. We as a community must change. We need to call out fascism and racism, oppression and hate, to be intolerant of the intolerant, by defying and denying racism and fascism access to our community as it seeks to invade our society and poison our communities and divide us. Something is very wrong in this country, and real action is needed now. As allies, we must act in solidarity in spirit and in deed. This is what we need, and this is what we can start to do right now. We must listen to our brothers and sisters who live this oppression. We must support them and fight for the justice that has been denied, and do not relent until it is given.